Admiral James Wilson stared through the massive windows of the United Earth Defense Command headquarters. The morning sun cast long shadows across the busy command center, where dozens of officers worked at their stations. It was supposed to be a normal day in 2247, but that was about to change forever. "Sir, we're detecting multiple anomalies at the edge of the solar system," reported Lieutenant Mark Davis, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. "They're massive, unlike anything we've ever seen." Wilson straightened his uniform and walked closer to the main screen. The coffee in his hand forgotten, he watched as hundreds of ships emerged from what appeared to be tiers in space itself. Each vessel was larger than the biggest ships Earth had ever built. "Get me a direct feed from the Pluto observation post," Wilson ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. The command center fell silent as the feed appeared on the main screen. The alien ships were beautiful in a terrifying way. Their hulls gleamed with a purple-silver sheen, and they moved with impossible grace for their size. The formation they held spoke of military precision that had been perfected over centuries. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," Davis announced. "The signal is being transmitted in perfect English." Wilson nodded. They had expected this day would come eventually. Humanity had detected signs of alien civilization years ago, but had chosen to remain quiet, watching and preparing. "Put it through," he commanded. The main screen flickered, and an alien figure appeared. It looked almost human, except for its silvery skin and entirely black eyes. It wore what appeared to be ceremonial robes adorned with symbols of authority. "People of Earth," the alien began, its voice carrying an artificial smoothness that suggested advanced translation technology. "I am Lord Grey, Speaker for the Galactic Council. We have been watching your civilization's development with great interest." Wilson's jaw tightened. The way Lord Grey said "great interest" made it sound like they were observing insects in a jar. "Your species has shown remarkable progress," Lord Grey continued. "As such, the Council has deemed Earth worthy of joining our galactic community. However, such protection and privileges come with certain obligations." The Admiral's hand clenched around his coffee cup. Here it came, the real reason for their visit. As is customary for all protected worlds, Earth will be required to provide a tribute of 30% of its total resources. This includes minerals, water, biological materials, and energy sources. You have 48 Earth hours to comply. The command center erupted in whispers. Wilson remained silent, studying the alien's expression. There was no trace of doubt or concern, only absolute certainty in their superiority. "Should you refuse," Lord Grey added, his tone becoming colder, "we will be forced to take corrective action. We trust you will make the wise choice." The transmission ended abruptly. Wilson turned to his staff. Their faces showed a mix of fear, anger, and determination. "Get me the President and the Joint Chiefs," he ordered, "and contact Dr. Thompson at Project Thunder. Tell her it's time." As his orders were carried out, Wilson looked back at the screen showing the alien fleet. The Council clearly expected Earth to roll over and submit, just like countless other worlds before them. They saw humans as primitives who had barely reached the stars. What they didn't know was that humanity had spent the last 20 years preparing for this exact moment. While the aliens saw primitive space stations and basic ships, they hadn't detected the military installations hidden throughout the solar system. While they monitored Earth's public communications, they hadn't found the quantum networks that operated in complete silence. The Council thought they were dealing with sheep. They were about to discover they had wakened a wolf pack. "Sir," Davis called out, "the President is on the line, and Project Thunder reports they're ready." Wilson allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Let's show them why you should never underestimate humanity." Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a chamber that officially didn't exist, Earth's top military and scientific leaders gathered around a massive holographic table. Dr. Anna Thompson, lead scientist of Project Thunder, stood before them, her gray hair tied back in a neat bun as she pointed to the rotating images of the Council's ships. Their technology isn't as advanced as they want us to believe," she said, her eyes bright with excitement. "Look at their engine signatures. They're still using controlled fusion reactions. We moved past that 5 years ago." Admiral Wilson leaned forward, studying the detailed scans. "Explain it in simple terms, Doctor. What are we looking at?" Thompson pressed a button, and the image zoomed in on one of the alien ship's power cores. "They're like someone who walks into a room waving a big stick, making lots of noise. Impressive, yes, but inefficient. Our quantum core technology is actually more advanced. They just don't know we have it." The Joint Chiefs exchanged looks around the table. General Thomas spoke up, his voice gruff with concern. "How did they miss our real technology level?" "Because we wanted them to," Wilson answered. "Ever since we detected their first probe 10 years ago, we've been putting on a show. They see what they expect to see. A young species just learning to crawl out of its cradle." Thompson nodded, bringing up another display. "We've also intercepted and decoded some of their communications. The Council isn't as united as they pretend. Many member species are forced to pay these tributes. It's nothing but a protection racket on a galactic scale." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't being invited into a peaceful federation. They were being strong-armed by space gangsters. "Tell them about the weakness you found," Wilson prompted. Thompson's face lit up with a fierce smile. "Their shields are designed to stop kinetic weapons and energy beams, but they have no defense against our quantum-linked EMP weapons. They don't even believe such technology is possible." She pulled up another diagram, showing the complex web of energy fields protecting the Council ships. "It's like they built the strongest front door possible, but left their back window wide open. One hit from our EMP weapons will shut down their entire power grid." The president, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke. "What are our chances if this turns into a fight?" General Thomas brought up a map of the solar system, showing hundreds of hidden military installations scattered throughout. "Thanks to Project Thunder, we have weapons platforms disguised as asteroids, bases hidden inside moons, and our entire defense fleet waiting in dimensional pocket space. They think they're looking at an empty solar system with a few primitive ships. They're actually starting at the barrel of a gun." "There's more," Thompson added. "We've analyzed their FTL communications. They're using basic quantum entanglement. Meanwhile, we've had working Ansible technology for 3 years. We can coordinate our entire defense network faster than they can even realize they're under attack." Wilson stood up, addressing the room. "For 20 years, we've been preparing for this moment. Every failed experiment, every primitive spacecraft we've launched, it was all a show. Now we have 2 choices: submit to their demands, or show them exactly what humanity is capable of." The president looked around the room, seeing determination on every face. "What do you recommend, Admiral?" "We give them our answer. A single word that will shake their entire council to its core. Then, when they react exactly as we expect them to, we spring our trap." Thompson pulled up one final display, a complete analysis of the Council flagship's vulnerabilities. "They're so convinced of their superiority they won't even see it coming. The best part, once we take down their flagship, every subjugated species in the galaxy will see that the Council isn't invincible." "Very well," the president said, standing. "Send the message. Let's show the galaxy why you should never demand tribute from humanity." As the leaders began finalizing their plans, Wilson looked at the holographic display of the waiting Council fleet. Soon, they would learn that humanity's apparent primitive status had been the greatest deception in galactic history. Captain Robert Miller stood at attention in the hidden command center of the Jupiter Defense Station, disguised perfectly within the great red spot of the massive gas giant. Through the reinforced windows, he could see his fleet of stealth ships, each one powered down to avoid detection by the Council vessels that had now spread throughout the solar system. "Your mission is crucial, Captain," Admiral Wilson said through the quantum communicator, his image crystal clear despite the millions of miles between them. Once we send our response, the Council will likely target Earth first. They won't expect an attack from behind. Miller nodded, studying the holographic battle plan floating between them. My crews are ready, sir. We've been training for this moment for years. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. While the Council focused their attention on Earth, thinking they were dealing with a frightened primitive species, humanity's real military forces would strike from multiple hidden bases throughout the solar system. In a secure room beneath the lunar surface, Dr. Thompson made final adjustments to the quantum EMP weapons. Each one was small enough to fit in a standard missile casing, but powerful enough to disable a Council capital ship. Testing complete, she reported through the Ansible network. All weapons are synchronized and ready. Admiral Wilson's voice came through again, addressing all commanders simultaneously. The President has approved the response. All stations, begin final preparations. Communication blackout in 30 minutes. Throughout the solar system, humanity's real military strength stirred to life. Behind Mars, a fleet of advanced warships powered up their quantum cores. In the asteroid belt, hundreds of weapon platforms disguised as ordinary rocks prepared their targeting systems. Near Mercury, solar collectors the Council had dismissed as primitive power stations revealed their true nature as energy weapon arrays. Remember, Wilson continued, timing is everything. The Council thinks they're dealing with a disorganized planet that barely has spaceflight. Each of you knows your role. When they move against Earth, they'll follow their standard invasion pattern. That's when we hit them from all sides. Miller walked through his ship, the Shadow of Terra, checking on his crew. Every man and woman knew what was at stake. They had trained countless hours for this mission, all while keeping up the pretense of being simple miners and traders whenever Council observation ships passed by. Status report, he called out as he entered the bridge. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Jane Cooper, looked up from her station. All systems nominal, Captain. Quantum core is hot but contained. Council sensors still show us as nothing more than background radiation from Jupiter. In the Mars defense ring, General Thomas supervised the loading of the EMP weapons onto their delivery platforms. Targeting systems synchronized, he reported through the Ansible. Ready to launch on command. Back on Earth, Wilson stood before the Global Defense Council. The pieces are in place, he announced. Our response is ready to transmit. The moment we send it, we'll have approximately 10 minutes before the Council ships begin their attack pattern. The President rose from her seat. 20 years of preparation comes down to this moment. Our ancestors faced armies that thought superior technology and numbers guaranteed victory. They learned that humanity's greatest strength isn't in our weapons, but in our determination and creativity. She looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. The Council thinks they're dealing with sheep. Let's show them what happens when you corner wolves. Miller took his command chair on the Shadow of Terra, running through the final checklist. His crew worked with quiet efficiency, each person knowing their role in the coming battle. Through the ship's quantum sensors, he could see the Council fleet spreading out, still completely unaware of the trap they were walking into. All stations report ready, Lieutenant Cooper announced. Miller nodded, his hand resting on the quantum drive controls. Now we wait for the word. Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden forces waited in perfect silence. Years of deception, of playing the primitive species, had led to this moment. In the next few hours, the galaxy would learn a valuable lesson about underestimating Earth. The countdown to humanity's response had begun. Lord Grey stood on the bridge of the Council flagship, the Eternal Glory, watching Earth rotate slowly on the main view screen. His silver skin reflected the soft purple lights of the command center as he waited for the primitives to submit, just as hundreds of species had done before them. Sir, his communication officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. Put it on display, Lord Grey ordered, adjusting his ceremonial robes. He expected to see a frightened human leader begging for more time or offering immediate surrender. Instead, A single word appeared on the screen. No. For several moments, complete silence filled the bridge. Lord Grey blinked his black eyes slowly, wondering if there had been some error in translation. "Request. Clarification," he ordered, his artificial calm slipping slightly. The response came back instantly. Again, just one word. "No." Lord Grey's silver skin darkened with rage. In 10,000 years of council history, no species had ever dared to respond so boldly, so disrespectfully, to a council demand. "Launch the first wave," he commanded. "Target their largest cities. Show them the price of defiance." On Earth, Admiral Wilson watched the council fleet's movements on the holographic display. Everything was proceeding exactly as their behavioral analysts had predicted. "They're following the standard intimidation pattern," Lieutenant Davis reported. "First wave moving into position for orbital strikes." Wilson activated the Ansible network. "All commands. Execute Phase 1. Let's show them what a real fight looks like." In the Jupiter Defense Station, Captain Miller's fleet powered up their quantum drives. "Shadow Squadron, launch on my mark," he ordered. His crews had waited years for this moment. On the Council flagship, alarms suddenly blared. "My lord," the sensor officer shouted, "we're detecting energy signatures everywhere. They're coming from the moons, the asteroids, even the gas giants." Lord Grey leaned forward, his composure cracking as hundreds of ships seemed to materialize from nowhere. "Impossible. Their technology level. Multiple weapons locked on our position," the tactical officer reported, panic in his voice. "These readings, they can't be right. The humans shouldn't have this level of technology." In lunar orbit, Dr. Thompson watched her monitors as the quantum EMP weapons powered up. "First wave of EMPs ready," she reported through the Ansible. "Targeting solutions confirmed." Lord Grey rapidly issued orders as his first wave of ships moved to attack positions. "Launch fighters. Show these primitives the might of the Council fleet." But as his ships prepared to fire, something strange happened. The seemingly primitive Earth defense satellites they had ignored suddenly revealed their true nature. Panels slid away, exposing advanced weapon systems. "My lord," his tactical officer shouted, "the humans. They're everywhere. Their ships are decloaking behind us, in the asteroid belt, behind their moons." On the Shadow of Terra, Captain Miller gave the order they'd all been waiting for. "All ships, weapons free. Show them what humanity's been hiding." The first quantum EMP burst hit the Council's front line of ships. Their shields, designed to stop kinetic and energy weapons, did nothing against this unknown technology. Ship after ship went dark, their mighty engines falling silent. Lord Grey watched in horror as his carefully planned display of force turned into chaos. "How?" he demanded. "They were primitive. We watched them. Their ships, their technology." Admiral Wilson allowed himself a small smile as he watched the Council fleet's formation break apart. "Send the second message," he ordered. Across all frequencies, in every Council language, a new transmission appeared. "Did you really think we'd show you everything we could do? Humanity has been watching you for the past 20 years. Now, let's negotiate, as equals." In the Council flagship, Lord Grey sank into his command chair, watching as more ships appeared from hidden bases across the solar system. In their arrogance, they had walked straight into humanity's trap. The age of Council intimidation was about to end. Project Thunder revealed its true power in the cold darkness of space. Dr. Thompson's quantum EMP weapons danced between Council ships like silent lightning, leaving dead hulks in their wake. From her command post on the moon, she watched her life's work tear through the supposedly invincible Council fleet. "EMP coverage at 60%, she reported through the Ansible network. "Their shields are useless against our weapons. They never even considered this technology possible." In the Jupiter sector, Captain Miller led the Shadow Squadron straight through the Council's defensive line. His ships, previously hidden in Jupiter's storms, now showed their true capabilities. "Target their engines," Miller ordered, Watching this, his fleet moved with practiced precision. Don't destroy them unless you have to. We want prisoners, not martyrs. The Council ships tried to respond, but their formation was broken. Years of easy victories had made them soft. They had forgotten how to fight an enemy that could actually fight back. On the Eternal Glory, Lord Grey frantically tried to restore order. Launch all fighters. He commanded. Contact the secondary fleet. We need reinforcements. His communication officer turned with a pale face. Sir, we can't. The humans, they're blocking all our quantum channels. Somehow they're moving faster than our FTL communications. Impossible. Lord Grey slammed his fist on his command chair. They were primitives. We watched them develop. Their technology was decades behind us. Admiral Wilson's voice cut through all Council communications. You watched what we wanted you to watch. Every failed launch, every primitive satellite, every basic space station. It was all a show. Welcome to the real Earth Defense Force. Around Mars, General Thomas unleashed the next phase. Hundreds of weapons platforms, disguised as simple asteroids, revealed themselves. Energy beams lanced out with surgical precision, targeting the Council ships' weapon systems. Multiple Council vessels disabled, Thomas reported. Their formations are breaking. They're starting to panic. The Council's mighty fleet, which had terrorized countless civilizations, was being systematically taken apart by the very primitives they had come to subjugate. Dr. Thompson's voice came through the Ansible. Admiral, detecting power spikes in the remaining Council ships. They're preparing to jump out of the system. Not today, Miller responded. His Shadow Squadron moved into position, activating their quantum field generators. Space itself seemed to thicken around the Council fleet, trapping them in normal space. What is this? Lord Grey demanded, watching as his ship's jump drives failed. How are they blocking our drives? On the Shadow of Terra, Lieutenant Cooper reported, all Council capital ships contained, Captain. They're not going anywhere. Miller nodded grimly. Send in the boarding teams. Let's introduce ourselves properly. Across the solar system, smaller human ships moved in. Their hulls, made with advanced stealth materials, had been completely invisible to Council sensors until now. Teams of Earth Marines, equipped with powered armor that made Council combat suits look like toys, began boarding the disabled vessels. In Earth's command center, Admiral Wilson watched the operation unfold exactly as planned. 20 years of preparation, of playing weak, of letting the Council think they were dealing with an easy target. It had all led to this moment. Sir, Lieutenant Davis reported, Council resistance is crumbling. Their remaining ships are surrendering. Wilson activated the general communication channel. Lord Grey, your fleet is disabled. Your ships are being boarded. Your communications are blocked. Would you like to discuss terms of surrender, or should we continue demonstrating humanity's primitive technology? On the Eternal Glory's bridge, Lord Grey watched helplessly as human Marines cut through his ship's doors. The mighty Council fleet had been defeated not by brute force, but by years of careful planning and deception. The age of Council dominance was over. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had never been prey. They had always been the hunters. Lord Grey sat in a plain metal chair in the Earth Defense Command's conference room, his silver skin dulled with exhaustion. The mighty Council leader now looked small without his ceremonial robes. Across the table, Admiral Wilson spread out a series of holographic images. Let me show you something interesting, Wilson said, activating the first display. This is your secret Council meeting from 3 years ago, where you planned the tribute demands for the next 10 systems. Lord Grey's black eyes widened. That's impossible. Those chambers were completely secure. Wilson smiled and switched to another image. And this is the Council's hidden shipyard in the Horsehead Nebula. We've had agents there for 5 years. In fact, he pressed another button, and dozens more images appeared, showing Council facilities across the galaxy. We've been everywhere, watching everything. Dr. Thompson entered the room, carrying a data tablet. "Our AI systems cracked your encryption years ago," she explained. "We know about every tribute you've collected, every species you've threatened, every secret you've kept." "But how?" Lord Grey's artificial calm was completely gone. "Our technology was superior. Our security was perfect." "Was it?" Wilson asked. He gestured to a young technician who brought in what looked like a simple council communication device. "Tell me, do you recognize this?" Lord Grey nodded slowly. "Standard council communication unit. Every ship carries them." Thompson picked up the device. "Wrong. This is a human copy we made 15 years ago. We've been selling these to your merchants through third parties for years. Each one contains a quantum backdoor that your systems couldn't detect." In another room of the facility, Captain Miller was showing captured council officers their own security footage. "Your race wasn't the first to visit Earth," he explained. "But you were the first to be so careless. Every probe you sent, every scan you made, told us exactly what you wanted to see. So we showed it to you," Wilson continued in the conference room. "Primitive rockets that sometimes failed, basic space stations, simple satellites, all while our real technology stayed hidden in plain sight." Lord Grey slumped in his chair. "The other species, when they learn of this—" "They already are," Thompson said, bringing up more displays. "Right now, our quantum network is broadcasting the truth to every species in Council space. The footage of your fleet's defeat is being seen on every planet you've ever extorted. On thousands of worlds across the galaxy, oppressed species watched in amazement as the mighty Council fleet was systematically taken apart by the primitives they had tried to bully. Your entire empire," Wilson explained, "was built on fear and the illusion of overwhelming power. We just had to show everyone that you could be beaten." In the ship hangars, human engineers were already studying the captured Council vessels. "Their technology isn't bad," Thompson noted, "just predictable. They stopped innovating centuries ago because no one ever challenged them." Lord Grey finally asked the question that had been haunting him. "Why show us all this? Why not just destroy our fleet and be done with it?" Wilson leaned forward. "Because we're not like you. We don't want to rule through fear. What we want is to help build something better." He activated one final display, showing plans for a new galactic alliance. "The Council's time is over, but instead of replacing one empire with another, we're offering a genuine partnership, equal representation, shared technology, mutual defense. And if we refuse," Lord Grey asked quietly, "then we release all the evidence of your crimes to every species in the galaxy," Thompson replied. "Every secret deal, every threatened civilization, every hidden tribute. Your choice." In that moment, Lord Grey understood the true depth of humanity's victory. They hadn't just defeated the Council's fleet, they had completely outmaneuvered their entire civilization. The age of humanity had begun, not with a show of force, but with years of patient planning and a single word. 6 months after the Council fleet's defeat, the solar system looked very different. Earth's hidden military installations now operated in plain sight, and ships from dozens of alien species filled the space lanes between planets. The Great Deception was over, and humanity had stepped fully into the galactic community, on their own terms. Admiral Wilson stood in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly on Mars, watching representatives from former Council worlds file into the chamber. The circular room had been designed to show that all species were equal here. No high seats, no special platforms, just a simple gathering of equals. "Quite a change from the Council chambers, isn't it?" Dr. Thompson said, joining him at the observation window. Her quantum EMP technology had already been shared with several trusted species, helping them defend their own worlds. "The Council never imagined their demand for tribute would lead to this," Wilson replied, watching as more delegates arrived. "They thought they were dealing with one primitive world. Instead, they united the galaxy against them." Captain Miller arrived with a group of alien military officers. His Shadow Squadron had spent the last months helping former Council worlds establish their own defense forces. "The training programs are going well," he reported. "Turns out a lot of species were developing secret technology under the Council's nose. They just needed someone to show them it was possible to fight back." In one corner of the assembly hall, Lord Grey sat quietly with the remaining Council representatives. Their once mighty organization now held observer status in the new alliance. Their power was gone, but they had been allowed to stay. A reminder of what happens when power goes unchecked. "Latest reports from the outer systems," Thompson said, checking her data tablet. "3 more worlds have asked to join the alliance. They saw how we handled the Council and decided we were trustworthy." Wilson nodded. "And how many of them had spied on us during our primitive phase?" "Almost all of them," Thompson laughed. "Turns out we weren't the only ones playing a long game. Some of them even suspected we were hiding something, but they kept quiet, waiting to see what we would do." The assembly chamber filled with the sounds of multiple species talking, trading stories, and making plans. Where the Council had forced obedience, the new alliance encouraged cooperation. "Message from Earth Command," Miller said, checking his communicator. "The last of the hidden defense platforms have been deactivated. No more need for secrets." Wilson smiled, remembering the days when humanity had pretended to be helpless. "Keep a few secrets," he advised. "Just because we're friends doesn't mean we need to show everything." The chamber quieted as the Earth President took the podium. "Representatives of the free worlds," she began. 6 months ago, humanity said no to tyranny. Today, we say yes to a new beginning." She gestured to the gathered delegates. The Council thought demanding tribute would strengthen their power. Instead, it led to their downfall and brought us all together. They taught us all an important lesson. True strength isn't about having the biggest fleet or the most advanced weapons. It's about having the wisdom to know when to stand together. In the observation deck, Wilson, Thompson, and Miller watched as the new alliance took shape. The Council's tribute demand had been meant to subjugate Earth. Instead, it had sparked a revolution that changed the galaxy. "You know what the funny part is," Thompson said quietly. "If they had just come in peace, we would have shared our technology willingly." Wilson nodded. "That's the difference between us and them. They saw the galaxy as something to control. We see it as something to explore together." As the assembly began its first official session, a message appeared on the main display screen, written in every known language. "Welcome to the new Galactic Alliance, where every voice matters and no tribute is demanded, only respect." The age of fear was over. The age of cooperation had begun, all because humanity had the courage to say one simple word.